Hi, I'm Sarah from Quail Cottage.
And I'm Katie from Grown by Lightning Hollows.
We're two flower farmers here in Australia, and together we're your bloom mates.
So we've told you guys about how we choose what we grow, and today we're diving into how we go from that list of flowers to an actual crop plan.
It can be a bit daunting, but really it's just making sure you've got the right flowers at the right time and in the right place, in the right quantities. So yeah, it is a bit daunting, but it doesn't have to be.
So the first step, what things do you normally think about when you're going to start a crop plan?
So for me, I kind of think about what I'm trying to achieve, the main things that I'm focusing on. So like this year for me, corn cockle. Like for me, it was a specific crop. For me, my main goals are corn cockle this year, maximizing that, and also trying to have higher quantities of less things.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, yeah, my focus was just trying to have higher quantities of things generally. But yeah, I feel like I start with how much space I have and then kind of work back from there, and to work out kind of in the zones that I have what things need to go where in terms of what things are high investment. So I want them to be in an area where they're going to be protected and that I'm going to see them regularly and think about them regularly. And then other things that need support, like say my delphiniums, I have one area which already has support that I just leave in place because it's metal wire, horizontal metal wire, and I just leave that in place. And so it's really nice, strong support for something like delphinium, which needs a lot of support. And yeah, then I guess just trying to assign everything to a spot. Does it need a large amount of space because I'm trying to grow a lot of it, or is it a trial so it can be squeezed into a small corner?
And do you start with your list of crops? Do you think like these are all the things I want to grow and then work things out from there? Yeah.
I do. I start with everything I want.
Same.
And then some things need to be cut out.
Yeah.
And there's like it tends to do a bit of reshuffling, kind of based on when things need to be planted or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you're saying your goals of particularly having a lot of corn cockle for spring and having larger amounts.
I
feel like one of my goals is to always have focal flowers,
which that's a good one.
Yeah, for this late spring period is such a challenge. And if anyone has any good recommendations, I'm all ears because it's tough. Filling in that gap between ranunculus and dahlias is really tough. But yeah, one of my goals is to have flowers with like something that's a focal flower to cover a 40-week season of selling retail. And then we obviously have the harvest, which is a spring season and a summer autumn spring season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's what I'm trying to grow. To grow bouquets for 40 weeks and wholesale flowers for spring and summer and autumn.
Yeah. And it's amazing that you can grow bouquets for 40 weeks.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess in a practical way that I mean that like when the harvest isn't on, I'm currently not focusing on growing large amounts. So like I'm going to try and like say the things that flower in August for me, which is like daffodils and early ranunculus and anemones, I guess. And I don't need wholesale quantities of those because I won't be selling to florists in those periods. Do you try and plan around event days like, well, I guess you would maybe weddings, but Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. Do you plant anything for those?
I probably should, but I don't sell retail, so for me it doesn't feel as major.
Yeah.
Obviously I would like to have as much as possible and the right things for my florist, but it doesn't feel as detrimental to me, so I don't really focus on it.
Yeah.
And Mother's Day is tricky because it's right at the end of the season. So really it's just whatever.
Yeah.
I do a late succession of zinnias specifically for Mother's Day, like quite late, like late February. I've even done one early March and they bloomed fine because especially in May, the zinnias get
tired.
Yeah, very tired. So if you've got a fresh succession, then that's helpful. But other than that, I don't really focus on specific days. I do plant less that will bloom around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Like I'll start certain successions a bit later than maybe I would if I wasn't selling at the harvest, because we close the harvest from like mid-December to late Jan.
Yeah.
Or mid-Jan, something like that. So I don't really want things, starting to push a heap of blooms during that time. So I will push successions later for that reason.
I last year grew a bed of red dahlias thinking of Christmas and Valentine's Day. And the feedback that I got was, or like, just from what sold, was just that red doesn't need to be a priority for my customers. They're perfectly happy with bright colours for those dates, for both, which would tend to be classic reds. But yeah, my bright, colourful bunches sold just as well. And I find red hard to use, so I'm not planting as much this year.
Yeah.
For Mother's Day, I definitely do a fair bit of crop planting because it makes up a significant portion of my business, just the Mother's Day week, which is really great. But yeah, that means for me chrysanthemums. This past year I had a few snaps, so I'm kind of planting them a bit earlier to try and have more snaps. And then zinnias, sunflowers have both been hit and miss. Some years I've had really great ones and others not. I try and plant them in January or February, and I think I've just done it well some years and not others, unfortunately. And then I think I'm just not very good at getting the timing 100% spot on for those things where it is just 1 week.
Yes, that is so hard. Like,
yes. Whereas rather than being like, okay, I want this particular colour for spring or this particular colour for autumn, I can do that. I'm not very good at perfect timing.
No.
Specific timing.
I don't think many people are.
Yeah, true. It's hard. This year, I think I've mentioned previously, but I tried to grow glads for the wedding that I had last weekend because I needed burgundy in spring, and I ordered all of these beautiful like black burgundy glads, and they didn't flower. And now I think, not sure what I'm going to do with them because I don't think there's going to be much demand, but I tried. It made me feel better at the time that I was trying to grow something.
You know what? I have got, for the next 3 weeks in a row, I've got at least one florist with a burgundy wedding.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
1 week I've got 2 florists and I don't have enough stuff.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's good to know.
So you've got all of your goals and like ideas, what you want to grow, when you need it for. Then you've got to turn it into an actual plan.
Yeah.
How do you go about that?
I use spreadsheets. I'm going to admit that I'm really useless at spreadsheets. Like, I don't really understand how to put calculations into them.
Oh, I have to Google it every time.
Oh, good. Oh, I feel like you're really good at them, so that makes me feel better.
I Google every time.
But I basically just use them like a drawing tool of like I have my beds mapped out in a spreadsheet, but it's just color coordinated words in places.
It works really well.
It does. It really does. And it's so easy to move stuff around. And and for me, I'm very visual, so I like it to look like that. But I would much prefer a digital copy than a hard copy so that things can be edited.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, it's a really gradual process. Like I've just recently copied my beds onto like a new page that will be for spring planting for next year, or for autumn planting for spring flowers, which I'm needing to do that now because it's affecting where I'm planting things now because of when they will finish and therefore when things go in. But yeah, it is a gradual process and it's like tweaking things and editing. But I feel like, I work from when a bed is going to be available and therefore what's going to work to plant. Then.
I have so many things I want to jump in with.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix for it
because I'm trying to pick the most relevant. Okay, first I feel like I need to talk about the visual element like you just did with your spreadsheet that you use for the visual. By the way, we're going to share on Instagram what our kind of maps look like.
Yeah. Which totally makes me nervous. I'm like, oh, things are probably not even spelt correctly in my maps. Like they're such a in my head, only me will ever see them. But very happy to share.
Yeah, it's fine. And there's like shorthand for things.
Yes,
I'm glad I don't put my spacing on my maps anymore because my spacing's embarrassing. My map I created probably like 3 years ago in Canva. I went on Google Earth and took a screenshot of our property from a bird's eye iView and then dropped that into Canva and designed over the top of it, like almost like a cartoon version of our property. So like just using the shapes tools on Canva and like the lines tools, and the background is green for the grass, and then the beds are brown boxes, and and then each of the beds has the writing of what it is. And it took a while to create it. It probably took me like 3 hours, but once it was done for every season, I can just duplicate it and edit each bed.
Yeah.
And I name, like when I duplicate it, I like write over the picture, fall flowers 2025, late spring summer flowers, and then autumn flowers.
Yeah.
So that's how I do my mapping. And then as far as what you were saying with like planning around when a bed's going to be available,
Yeah.
I've always had a written crop plan, but this year I feel like I've
leveled up.
I've really leveled up and like refined it this year.
Nice.
My spreadsheet. I've got it in front of me so I can walk through it a bit. And we're going to share it in the show notes as well. And don't feel like you're going to break it when you open it. It's just like it's a view only copy, so you can literally copy and paste it if you want to use it into your own spreadsheet. So the layout is, the first column is the month, or if you're that kind of person where you need to put a specific date, you could put a specific date of when you're sowing it, and then the flower and the flower variety, the succession. So like, for example, succession 2 of 3, if you're doing 3 successions, days to maturity to work out when it will flower and therefore roughly when it will finish.
Yeah.
Because in this spreadsheet, I also plan when that bed's going to be flipped for the next thing, and put all of these things in my calendar so that like planning for next season with the trays of stuff we've got coming from Ball, that is in this spreadsheet already for next year.
That's very cool.
Like here I've got early January, I'm sowing the second succession of zinnias. They will flower in March, and they're going in bed 3, which is a bed that used to have corn cockle in it. So I've got it's being planted after corn cockle. And then in the notes, it says flip bed late April to sow corn cockle in May for next season. And all of those like actionable things are in my calendar.
Which is important. If you need that corn cockle in spring next year, you need to, whatever state the zinnias are in, you need to cut them down and put to
rip
bed.
them out.
Because
regardless.
Otherwise it'll set back your corn cockles.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I do multiple successions of things, so that once, so in this situation with these zinnias, it's succession 2. By the time I need to flip this bed, succession 3 will be blooming.
Yeah.
So I'm not feeling as precious about having to cut those down.
Well, this is so much more refined than what mine is, because I feel like I don't know when things will flower. I just hope that I've planted enough that something will be flowering. And I guess I have vague memories, because again, I'm not very good at taking notes, but of when I planted things last year and when they flowered. So like I have those dates
and you're
in my
really
mind.
good with photos.
Yeah.
You go back through which I do a bit as well.
Yeah.
But I do like taking notes.
Yeah.
But you go back through your photos and see when things were blooming or when things were planted. You often take photos of seed trays and stuff.
I do, and I tend to try and take at least once every week a photo of all of my bouquets that I've done, so I know what flowers I had that week, and it's a really good cross-section of what I have blooming, rather than just like a photo here of whatever, like one particular order that looks amazing.
Yeah.
If I take it of my retail bunches, it tends to be a bit of everything usually.
I have found this year, because last year was my first season using an accounting software. I use QuickBooks, and having the data from last year of being able to pull up a week, like we're currently in the season, October, November is that tricky gap time where we live, at least. I feel like down south, this is when things are ramping up for them.
Yes.
But for us,
when
where
people are posting at the moment, they're beautiful ranunculus. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
they're all done.
Ours are-
Yeah, and I'm packed away in the shed.
yeah. We're in that gap at the moment where, well, we've still got beautiful filler flowers, spring filler flowers, but there's not a lot as far as focals go. But yeah, it's the time of year where it's when someone asks you what you're going to have, it's hard to think because there aren't like super standout things.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's true.
but
You
being able
still
to
have
go,
lots to sell.
yeah, but being able to go back through your records of what you had in a particular week or even a particular month is so helpful.
Yeah.
I've loved having that this season.
That's cool.
Mm.
I changed my accounting software like this financial year, so I will have that this year, but I don't have it from my last year.
Yeah,
notes.
it's so great.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yes. Well, we've talked about spreadsheets and using Canva as far as tools go.
Yeah.
I use my Google Calendar religiously. That's another very important tool for me. And as much as I love writing things down physically, and I used to be a physical copy, like had to write with pen and paper kind of person, I just had to train myself out of it because I would lose things. It's so much harder to edit. Like, you know, I might be having a particularly lazy weekend where I don't want to get something done or it's really hot and I'm like, no, I'll do that next weekend. And being able to just drag and drop that task in your calendar to the next weekend is a lot easier than in a physical calendar.
Yeah.
Mm.
My problem with physical calendars is they all end up with like kids scribble on them.
Yeah.
Anything pen to paper is scribbled over.
Not sacred.
No.
You've started using your Google Calendar more, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's because I send you calendar invites now.
And then that's there because prior to this season, I would have orders written down nowhere. I just had them in my head, like both retail orders and florist orders. Like without going to that particular message with the person, there was no records of them. And that also, like, it was fine. It all worked out fine.
It's unbelievable to me that
someone will show
could
up.
do that. That's like actually amazing.
Yeah.
Because you never missed things. There were days where you would message me and be like, oh my God, I only just remembered.
Yes,
but you never forgot.
Yeah. No, it is. But it was definitely like, it was a background level of stress in my life that I would forget something. So I'm trying to be really much better about using Google Calendar.
Yeah, it's better for your mental health to use it.
Exactly. I have like notes here and there about like in terms of planning for next year being like, oh, I need to do this differently or I want...
Or this earlier or later.
That sort of thing. But then, I mean, they know any of the level of yours. But I've mentioned a few times I have a friend who's starting a flower farm and she has many times recently sent me a screenshot and been like, have you grown this before? Or like asked me about certain plants. And so many of them, my answer is like, yes, I tried growing it, but didn't have success. Can't remember why. Because I never made a note. I just wrote it out of my list. Like lupins was one of them. Like I've grown lupins before, but no.
And you can't remember why.
Yeah. Like, it's made me think, oh, it would be really handy if I had made some sort of note of that.
I feel like that's a good thing, actually, that you don't hang on to those things in your brain, like in a healthy mind way, because I am the opposite. When I have a failure, I can tell you everything about it for years to come.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. So that's probably a good thing.
I would describe us as quite different in terms of planning, which we've mentioned before, that you're very detail orientated and I'm more of just a respond in the moment, go with the flow of what's coming.
It works for you.
Yeah, it does. Partly because I have the space. Like, I mean, I don't have heaps of space, but I have more space than you. And so I'm able to, like with your tight successions, it's not so important for me because like I know I think I have 4 beds of zinnias in my plan for this season. And when they're available from the last crop, I will sow another. As opposed to it being... I need to sow it by this date so that it starts at this time and finishes by this time so the bed becomes available again, which is what it sounds like for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like my bed of zinnias that I have planted at the moment, it will go indefinitely. I don't need to I don't need that bed until, sorry, not that it will flower indefinitely. I know it will peter out, but that bed's not needed until May for something else.
Wow.
Yeah. So I will just let it go
What
and
you
then
should
reclaim it.
What you should do is cut like a third of it, replant that, and then the next third of it and replant that. Because I'm the same. I can't just like cut a bed down and then not have it. But you could cut down bits at a time.
Interesting. I was going to say, maybe I'll
So
just
that
let a
they're
whole lot
fresh.
go to seed and then see if I get a in a succession, a lazy way of doing like
Let them self-seed.
Yeah, you know how your floret ones did that last year? You
Yeah.
had an insane amount, but there probably won't be enough moisture to do that.
Yeah.
I'd have to probably
It's meant to be
deliberately
dry.
water the beds. Anyway, we'll see. But again, that's my laziness. You being like, you could replant a third at a time. And I'm like, no, that sounds like effort. Maybe I'll just see if any pop up by themselves.
And you won't really need to. You're going to have so
No,
many flowers.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Touch wood. How do you remember when you're sowing trays? Do you keep everything pretty labeled?
I rarely sow a lot all at once in trays.
Yeah.
As I've said previously, I don't love sewing in trays.
Yeah.
I love direct sewing, but there's certain things that you just have to. And usually when I'm direct sewing, I will start like a small amount in a tray as well to like fill gaps. So for instance, last weekend I direct sewed a heap of zinnias, but I started like I sewed 4 different varieties, and I sewed those 4 different varieties into a 72 cell tray as well. So I don't know how many of each that is, like 18 cells each, just to be able to plug holes where things don't germinate.
Yeah. And are they labelled by colour? Or will you remember?
No, they're labelled by colour. If I'm not starting multiple colours of things, but I'm starting multiple different like
types
species of plants, I don't label.
Yeah.
Because I am at the stage where I know what all the seedlings look like, which is so great. Like when I first started growing, I didn't know the difference between a weed and a seedling. And
I feel like where I get stuck with that is if you have a whole tray not germinate and then you don't know. Well, I find I'm like, okay, well, I obviously wanted some plant here and it has failed, but what out of my list was it that's missing?
You start so much in seed trays that you can't remember.
There is.
Yeah, whereas I know exactly.
Yeah. Or like even my not labeling. I'm growing 2 types of sunflowers this year and doing like weekly or fortnightly successions. And at the start, I was labeling them as which type they are. And then when I was planting them out, I wasn't. I wasn't then labeling them when they were planted out, and I have no record of what they are. So now I'm just not, because I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. They'll probably end up like a bit muddled up, but they'll be very obvious as the bud is forming, because one is a double and then one is just like a very single black scented classic sunflower. So I'm not going to get them muddled up at that stage.
No.
But if someone asked me, will I have that double sunflower in a few weeks? I won't be able to tell.
Yeah, I've done that before where I've labelled in a seed tray and then not
in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you did half the job.
Yeah.
But also sometimes I put labels out. Like in my zinnias, I do actually have the little label that I wrote on dividing the colours. But they're a bit of plastic that is going to get lost out there. So that is also annoying.
What I do with labelling in the garden is, instead of having like a physical label, I take a photo and draw on the photo in my phone using like the markup tool that's on an iPhone. There'd be the same sort of thing on Android, where you can draw over the photo. And then I've got an album in my phone called Garden.
That's so clever.
And I just save it to that album. And it looks horrendous. Like it's so scribbly, and I would like not for anyone else's eyes but mine. But at least I can see, like I can zoom in on the photo and see, okay, I planted 16 seedlings to there, and then I drew a line, and then there's 40 seedlings after that that are this colour. Yeah.
Once you know what you've got to grow at what time of year, how do you decide which plant goes in which bed?
It's kind of like prioritising based on quantities and how close I want it to, like for me, our growing space is really long,
Yeah.
and the front is like the best real estate
Yeah.
because that's where I am the most.
And we can all guess what's there.
That's where all the corncockle is. And those beds were the first beds that I built when we, or like built up. So
Yeah.
that soil is quite nice.
Yeah.
When we first moved in, and then it sort of works back from there. And then it's also about light. So again, I'm very lucky with the layout of our urban block in the fact that our house is on the west side of our garden. So most of our garden is shaded in the afternoon,
Yeah.
the late afternoon. Well, I would say maybe half of our beds
Yeah.
are shaded by the house in the afternoon, which gives a lot of protection, especially for spring crops that can't handle afternoon heat.
Yeah.
We've got like a little microclimate next to our house, whereas when you get further to the back, things just cop sun all day. So that's where I've planted like sanguisorba, and like most of my perennials are down the back.
Yeah.
Because they can handle the heat.
Yeah.
Like chocolate cosmos as well. And then we've got the added, like, it's a bit tricky to manage. We've got Phyllis, our neighbour over our back fence. We grow on her property as well. And this is a bit morbid, but Phyllis is in her 90s, and at any point we could lose her, and we could also lose our growing space. So prioritizing higher income things on our land, lower income things on her land.
Yeah.
Things with a quicker turnaround on her land.
Yeah.
But then it's also tricky because our longest beds are over at her place, our good 10-meter long beds. We've got 5 of them over there. And they're where I want to plant things because it's just I can fit so many more and just, harvest down one straight line instead of multiple beds.
Yeah.
But I just have to be practical about that.
And I'm probably quite similar in that I prioritize where isn't going to flood on my land because, exactly what you just said, the things that are quick turnaround, because they could all be underwater within a week at any given moment, and have been. So, that's how I prioritize as well. I kind of am developing a bit of a perennial area and a like high investment area. Even my dahlias, I've just planted out 2 beds of dahlias in the flood area with all my leftovers that I'm like, oh, well, like, I can survive with it. Like I won't lose those varieties or they're not varieties that I particularly like. But
it'll be handy to have the extra if they survive, and if they don't, well, they were extra anyway.
Yeah.
And you also have areas that are like sun dependent as well.
Yes. We don't have a lot of trees or shade. Like our property is very open. And so anything that needs a bit of shade, I kind of struggle to grow. And I have this one area of beds that is shady. And I planted a bunch of stuff there, but it's actually the shade of a pine tree. And so the pine, how pines release that like growth inhibiting stuff.
Yeah.
And so things
it's like
grow
a
terribly
pH
there.
thing.
Yeah. So shady things that like shade are really hard for me to grow.
You've got stuff in pots and crates in the shade.
Yeah.
Are they okay?
Yes.
Because they're under that pine tree.
They're under that same tree, yeah.
But they're in
pots.
Different soil.
And, they're hydrangeas, so I think that it's high, like it makes the soil more acidic, which I'm hoping will give me blue hydrangeas. I've only ever had pink hydrangeas in the past when they've been in the ground.
And you've also got Solomon seal
in crates there.
How are they going?
Not great. Yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know whether maybe I should try and find a bed for them. I have a bed in mind where I could put them. Undecided at the moment. They're one of my trials, and they're
one of many
trials. Do you pay much attention to bed rotations in terms of not growing the same?
What's that? I don't have a choice.
Yeah, because like most of your beds will grow zinnias at some point if they're not a perennial bed.
I wish I could, because
Yeah.
I do truly believe that that would make such a big difference,
Yeah.
especially as far as disease goes. But I don't have a choice, and everything has done okay so far.
Yeah.
I just add a heap of compost.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I add a heap of compost every time I plant, because through summer I'm like replanting beds regularly. I'd say twice a year I add compost to the beds, and
Yeah.
that's all I really do.
I don't really do any bed rotations, but I have been thinking about it because my ranunculus had powdery mildew this year, which I'd never grown them in that spot before. So it's not that they came back from last year. But when I cut them all down, I left all the stems in the row and then mowed over them, which I feel like has just put powdery mildew spores all over my beds. But at the same time, they're my beds that I can see from my house.
Yeah.
And that's where I want my ranunculus to be. So
Absolutely.
yeah, maybe I'll be dumping a whole lot of compost on to try and get some
Cover
distance. I have actually reworked those beds quite a bit because they have drainage issues.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll see how I'm feeling by autumn, whether I'm willing to risk putting them there again or not.
I also think even if I had the room, I'm such a creature of habit, and I like
me too.
things being in a certain place that like that bed just becomes like my front beds. They are my corncockle
I mean,
beds.
it kind of takes away a bit of the planning that you need to do. That's
and
where you
those are
had
my
them
sweet pea
before.
beds every year.
And if they've done well there before, like I said, I feel the same with my Delph. Like I'm like, no, I've worked out they like growing there. I want them to be there.
Yeah.
And that's where I picture them being.
Yeah, I'm a creature of habit.
Yes. I actually, Campanula and foxgloves, I have a bed that they share a bed this year. And then next year I'm planning to get them to share that bed plus another bed because I'm not willing to risk completely moving them. So I'm like, no, I'm going to do half and half again, even though I'm going to have double the plant just because of habit. And like it feels like too much of a risk to move them.
Do you consider wind at all?
Yes. Yeah, my different areas have different wind protection levels. Like, and it's kind of a little bit complicated. One is like quite protected. And then another area, short plants are protected because it's the mound that I've talked about, which is like growing on this little slope. So when they're little, they're very protected from the wind because it comes from that direction. But then if they get tall, they then get hit with a lot of wind. So
at the top of the plant where the blooms are.
Yeah, exactly. Like my zinnias always get hit with wind. Like I planted lime zinnias at the back of that bed, which is the on the windy side, and I didn't get any usable stems because they all got damaged from the wind. Like they'd get burnt. Whereas like other colours, not so much, but the lime and white are really
prone to it.
How about you? You're pretty protected from the wind here.
Yeah, but I do consider that because the back of our property isn't as well. It is compared to yours.
Yeah.
We've at least got fences, but the front of our property is where all the houses are, like all the houses, where our house and our next door neighbour's house are, close together, like probably 10 meters apart, maybe a little bit more. And that it offers so much protection from the winds. I've spoken to a few people who have said that they've struggled with corncockle because of the wind. And I think mine do so well because of they're in such a protected spot.
Well, that's so interesting because I've been very impressed with mine that are planted in basically an open paddock with no wind protection, and they're not supported.
That's amazing.
They're shorter than my corncockle that's in like a more established bed with nicer soil. They're still very usable stems. They'd be at least a metre tall, the plants. But yeah, they're standing up by themselves, which is crazy.
So good.
And I totally should go and fix them, but my to-do list at the moment is just like out of control. And I'm honestly like, I don't even care about those flowers. There's there's more important things than worrying about them blowing over at the moment. You should put it into context. I made the decision to combine, which we're going to get to this later, which is maybe something to not do again.
Definitely.
I have my ball order of plugs, my chrysanthemums, and a whole lot of woody shrubs all arrive in the same week, which I was like, yeah, cool. I'll have a planting week.
Do you want to put into context how many plants that is? Thousands.
Yeah, I could do some quick maths, I think.
Yeah, do some quick maths. We'll sit here and wait. Because your ball order, how many trays?
4.
So that's already like 1,000.
Yeah.
Over 1,000.
It's about 1,700 plants that I plan to plant on Tuesday. I'll be listening to this podcast at some stage on Tuesday. And this is why we started a podcast, because we have many hours to fill in.
Many.
Sorry, that was a total tangent.
But definitely consider that in your plan.
Yeah.
Maybe succession plan you're ordering.
Yes. And I just like what it really was just thinking I thought crops would be done by now. And so therefore I'd be happy to like, you know, I thought this was the good turning point for everything.
I will say I have had one of those situations. I was looking in my spreadsheet at when my first bed flips are coming up, and they are a lot sooner than I thought, and they're corn cockle. And I'm like, girlfriend, what were you thinking? I've still got, I think in 2 weeks I'm meant to be flipping the second bed.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I could. It's a lot rattier than, not rattier, but the plants are further along and there's less stems than
harder to find
the other bed
stems.
But they're still so usable. There's still so many stems.
Yeah. Something that you are very good at is interplanting and intercropping. How have you gone about that?
Necessity. And trying to get good stem length. So a few things that we should do an episode on interplanting actually, because it's so, I could go on so many tangents about it.
Okay. Trial and error though, maybe.
Big time. I plant things along the edges of a lot of my beds. And then there's also like considering how much time that crop needs to be in the ground for.
Yeah.
And when it will be harvestable and when it will finish. So like corn cockle and phlox, I was actually looking in my spreadsheet. Oh, this is a big tangent, but this is a really interesting thing that I've noticed this season. So when you look up days to maturity for corn cockle, it says 90 days.
Yeah.
And this season, I looked at when each succession started blooming and when I planted them. And it was almost exactly every time 150 days because they were autumn sown.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're sowing them like late winter, spring, it probably is 90 days.
Yeah.
If you're in a cooler area. But because we sow them in
autumn, they're much longer. Yeah.
It's 150 days. And then I looked at my previous year and looked at the dates in my photos.
Yeah.
And it was around the same thing. So in my spreadsheet, I've got autumn sown 150 days or spring sown 90 days.
Yeah, nice.
Looking at when things bloom, phlox and corn cockle, they're planted together and they start, September, October. These are my second successions of these plants that I'm looking at. And they'll both be done both of those crops will be done in December when I need to flip the beds for zinnias.
Yeah. It's hard if you intercrop something and
that has a longer life cycle than the other.
Like there's wasted space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. That's something that I haven't done a lot of, or not deliberately. I do actually, something that's been an accidental one is I have snapdragons that I'm not using anymore because of caterpillars, and a lovely crop of nigella has self-sown underneath it. And so I'm just letting it take over the bed.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm enjoying that interplanting bed at the moment. When do you order everything generally, like your seeds and plugs?
Plugs I order earlier than seeds. I don't know. When do we order plugs? Like 6 months ahead?
Well, you don't have to order that far in advance.
No.
Ranunculus, we've just put in our autumn order, which is including ranunculus, and they had been asking for that. Like Ball had been saying, get your ranunculus orders in, and so this is October. And for orders, I think they say the earliest you can order is for week 16. So yeah,
I feel like you always prompt me with plug orders.
Yeah, I guess we're like 8 months in advance at the moment.
We put our pansy order in this week.
Yeah,
too for March.
So that's about 6 months in advance.
Yeah. I spoke with Jen from Southern Highlands Flower Farm, and she planted the same variety of pansy as me, the Imperial Antique Shades. She planted it 2 months earlier than me in March and had, even though she's in a much cooler area than us, she had way longer stems than me, a lot earlier than me. So that's why we've ordered our plugs for pansies for March. And I'm including Katie in that because
jumping on.
she jumped in on my order.
And yeah, I just like ordering in advance, well, for 2 reasons. I like to have it fresh in my mind, either crops that have just finished flowering or that are currently flowering.
Yeah.
And I like making that decision. Like, we've also ordered I've ordered Delph plugs, and I will grow some from seed, but I like to have some plants as well. And I'm changing varieties because my big, massive Delph that are like almost 2 meters tall are just not that practical. I'm sick of transporting them. So I'm going to order a different.
They make me panic when I have to transport them for you.
And I waste heaps because they fall over in the bucket because they're top heavy or for whatever reason. And
or you walk past them and snap them.
Yes. So yeah, I've just decided that next year I'm going to grow a smaller variety and try that out. But yeah, so that's fresh in my mind right now. So I just wanted to make the decision now. And I hate missing out on things. I have such FOMO that I'm like, I don't want it to, for them to be out of seed or for whatever reason, which that's when I'd order my seeds. I always like to have my seed in stock. I want my seed in stock. And by that, I mean in my seed drawer.
In your stock.
Yes. I want my little mitts on it to know that I'm going to be able to grow what I want. And yeah, as opposed to Sarah, who's very planned out, mine is more like hoarding. I'm just like, I just want heaps of it. I don't know exactly what varieties, like Cosmos. I probably have 20 Cosmos varieties in my drawer that I'm just like, I might grow this, I might grow that. I just want all of them to be there in case I want them.
Until about a month ago, I was the same, but I culled my collection, my seed collection, because it was so out of hand. And when I look at my actual crop plan, there's not that many varieties on it.
Yeah.
And I realized that it had gotten to the point where I could not store it all in one place anymore. And once I culled it, I shared heaps of it with we've got like a group of local growers that we all catch up and do working bees at each other's places. Yeah, now that I've shared it with everyone and gotten rid of heaps of stuff, it all fits. Like I've got heaps of extra space in my seed collection now.
Yeah, that's good.
It's really good. But with my ordering, as far as when I do it, usually at least a few months before I'll be sowing it, and I keep track of it in this same spreadsheet that I'm going to share. Once I've ordered it, I just change the color of that column.
Yeah.
So I know that I've got it.
Yes.
Ready to go.
I do have something like that in my spreadsheet. I have a notes of like most of the things that I'm growing from seed and vaguely when I want to start it. And when I say vaguely, some of them are like this month, or some of them are once such and such has finished, if I know what bed they're going in. Or even sometimes it's when I have space in my potting area. And then I have a box as to whether I've ordered the seed or not.
Yeah. And then it also depends on the popularity of the thing.
Yes.
Too. And if it's only available at a certain time of year, like sweet peas. Aren't necessarily always available.
Yes. I just sowed some cupcake cosmos and I had 2 packets of it and I sowed both of them. And I actually have germinated within like 2 days, which is awesome.
That's good.
But yeah, I was like, oh, well, I've used up my seed. I want there to be more cupcake cosmos seed in my drawer. And yeah, can't find it in stock anywhere, which drives me crazy. Actually, I've said anywhere. I haven't tried everywhere. Just the places that I normally buy from.
Yeah.
Just the places that I'm like, oh, I know I want other stuff from there.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's definitely certain ones that I'm like, I always like to have it because I don't like, because it sells out regularly. Like also the flamingo feather celosia. I find that there's been a few times I've gone to buy that and it's been out of stock.
Yeah.
How about budgeting for these orders? Do you have in mind when you're going to have big expenses like that?
I don't. Honestly, I don't often have big outlays of things other than bull orders. And that is only twice a year.
Yeah.
Last season we ordered 2 lots of like cool flowers to plant in autumn. And that was, other than like some perennials like sanguisorba and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't order huge amounts of things. So I never have, like, you know,
Never
maybe
huge
like
amounts of money.
$500 in a ball order. Other than that, and I've got like my business bank account is a separate thing than my own bank account, and I don't use it for anything other than business stuff. So there's always money in there.
Yeah.
Before I had a separate business account, oh yeah, I had to consider that because I'm not good at having spare money in my own bank account. But the business money feels like a whole separate thing. It doesn't feel like my money.
Yeah.
So I don't touch it unless I have to
Yeah, okay.
buy something.
The autumn plug order that we've done, my share of that is going to come to about $3,000. And that definitely makes me nervous, having a day where I'm
Wait,
going to have
what
to...
have you, how much of things have you ordered? How many
It's
trays?
ranunculus. 6 trays of ranunculus, 2 trays of foxgloves, a few delphinium. Yeah, a few bits and pieces that just add up to a lot of money. But anyway, I'm going to need to budget for that. And it's going to be
You are.
fine because that's going to be towards the end of the season. It'll be a
Yeah.
time when I have money in my account. But I guess I'm still in that, what feels like just like big investments phase. I know
And you're investing in a lot of woodies and perennials as well.
Yeah, I have spent a lot on those. I'm in the process of building a website, so I know that's a big chunk of money. It's pretty close to being done, and I'll be getting an invoice for that process. So yeah, I wish that when you did these orders in advance that you paid for at the time, at the time of your order,
Yeah,
that would
same.
make me more comfortable.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just part of being in business. It's not how it works. And it probably will become more something that we're used to the longer it goes on. And the longer that we run profitable businesses where we have money in our account to spend. Yeah, I'm also like fairly new to having a separate business account. And yeah, I guess I'm still learning to trust that the money keeps coming in.
Yeah. And it definitely does. I'm really glad that the ball orders, typically the big ones, well, I don't really have any big ones, but they are for cool flowers.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the season, like you said.
Yeah.
So things are built up by then.
Yes. And I hope that I don't continue to spend that much on ranunculus. It's just that I wasn't happy with the colours I had this year. So that's why it's quite a big order, because I want different colours. And then I will save my own corms and hopefully only buy 1 or 2 trays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, will you be saving the columns from the plugs or?
Yeah. I did that last year and yeah, they came back really well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how they will go this year because of the powdery mildew. Like I have still saved them, but yeah, because I feel like it's otherwise
it a much better investment.
Totally. I can't picture myself spending this much year after year and continuing to grow them. But
I remember listening to an episode where I think it was the Flower podcast.
Yeah.
And he interviewed the one that has like the Italian ranunculus breeders, and he imports
like
them.
awnings? Or...
Yeah.
No,
Awnings?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. And he was saying that they're not reliable, like the plugs aren't reliable, and that you've got to order them every year. That could just be a business tactic.
Well, there are flower farms that buy plugs every year and then sell the corms to gardeners from those plugs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah. I still think plugs are probably a little bit stronger in my experience. They'll produce a few more flowers, but they're so expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just not use the corms as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, if I can get away with 1 or 2 trays of ranunculus each year instead of 6, I will do that.
So when it comes to seed starting and planning, how do you figure out when you're going to start seeds?
I'm not a good seed starter. So if I'm starting...
You are such a good seed starter. Oh. Or do you mean you're not good at like the planning side of it?
No, I was meaning like they're slow. So I was going to say, I tend to find that most things for me need to be in trays about 6 weeks before I plant them out. Even something like a zinnia. No, I was going to say sunflowers. I believe sunflowers, I have a 3-week round of when I plant them. But so yeah, mine is basically like 6 weeks before I want to be able to plant it out, I will start the seed. Which, yeah, I guess kind of if I already have my ball orders in place, say my celosia, I have 2 trays of celosia coming, but I'm also growing celosia from seed. So I've started that seed to coincide with when the ball orders were coming. So all my celosia will be planted at once. Which is a weird choice because that will mean I'll have a whole flush of
Yeah.
celosia. But they're sharing beds.
I thought it was a
so-
weird choice because that means you will have extra planting to do.
Well, my goal is to just have large quantities. All I want is to just have
Yeah.
heaps so that I can sell and say, yes, I can do you 10 bunches of celosia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been part of my
Mhm.
planning. Because, yeah, in the past I haven't done that. I've done little bits at a time, start 20 seeds here, 20 seeds there.
Yeah.
But I don't. I want large amounts.
Mhm.
How about you? How do you work out when to start?
I work backwards from when I want it.
When you want the flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that tuned in enough. Mine's just like when it's planted and then it's up to.
Well, with cool flowers, it's kind of both when I want the flowers. So some things that I know will need to be in the ground a bit longer, I'll plant earlier than I might like.
Yeah.
Like I could still have that bed space for autumn stuff, but I pull stuff out earlier because I know I want the spring flowers from that bed early spring.
Yeah.
But then it's also other things. It's just when the bed's available.
Yeah.
When the thing that's currently in there is going to be finished.
Yeah.
But mainly it's working backwards from when I want it. And like my zinnias this year that I've planted later than I typically have in the past because they would start blooming. I know if I planted them when I usually would, they would start blooming late November, early December, but be pumping by mid-December. And that's when the harvest goes on break.
Yeah.
And when I'll be going on like a little bit of a break.
And I've just worked out you saying when you do your last succession of zinnias, they would be direct sown, whereas mine always started in trays. And so that's what I was thinking. Oh, how do you get them in for Mother's Day, planting them in January and February? Mine are only like, I'll get one flower by that stage. But it would be because if I start them in trays, then they're not getting in the ground for another 6 weeks past that. So just that difference of direct sowing, because the days to maturity is from the time they're in the ground. So if you start them in trays, that's tacked on.
I had no idea days to maturity was the time they're in the ground. Are you serious?
Yeah, I've heard a few people talk about that recently. So if you're starting them in trays, that's additional time.
No way.
Apparently, that's what I hear on the streets, and by that I mean the podcast. But yeah, in terms of the direct sowing, I've always been really terrible at that. And then this year I have finally had a little bit of success, which I would say is due to getting a wobbler sprinkler, which I'm really liking. And then also I bought bulk coir. And so I've been using that to put around my seeds to keep the moisture up to them because that's that's the biggest thing that I have issues with.
That's so clever.
But it's actually just been so nice to have some things that I haven't sown the seeds, pricked out the seeds, planted out. Like the comparison of that compared to them just popping up in the ground is amazing. And also planning my spacing to fit a stirrup hoe in between them.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Big steps up in
That's such a good one.
in my life.
Yes.
Which I guess that also really helps when you have limited space for starting seed trays.
And that's one of the reasons that I direct sow so much.
Yeah.
I mean, the main reason is because I hate planting stuff out.
Yeah.
But I do have limited space. I mean, I literally have a potting bench that is the perfect setup for seed trays that I could fit like 6 seed trays on. But it's out the back of our property, out the back of our house. And I don't go out the back of our house every day. I need my seed trays to be at the front where I walk past them and there is a tap right there every single day. So they're on our front lounge on the veranda. And I can only fit like 4 seed trays, I would say.
I have 2 tips for having a small area. One of them is, I think Casey mentioned this, but yes, sowing in an open tray, sowing your seeds in an open tray. And
broadcasting.
Pricking out the seeds and then potting them up into either pots or into cell trays so that you don't have empty cell trays. And I find that really helpful, because I have not done that for some of my things this year and it's driving me crazy that I have cell trays with like a scattering of plants in there taking up space. And I do have a seed starting area. It's not a greenhouse or anything. It's just open, but it's like a good level of morning sun and afternoon shade. and it's a whole lot of benches. So my other tip is have it in an area where your partner doesn't realize that you're just gradually adding more racks. And it's quite a large space. I can fit lots of plants.
You have another tip. Seed snails.
Oh, yes. I haven't done those with any summer annuals, but I grew heaps of my autumn plants using seed snails, and they were great. I was really happy with them. Like,
do you
really
want to
good.
explain what they are?
Oh, yeah. So they're like, I was using like the plastic that potting soil comes wrapped in, cutting it into long strips, putting out potting mix, and then rolling it up. I'm doing hand gestures, rolling it up into a snail-like coil, and then you scatter the seeds on top. And because they've got a bulk amount of soil in together, the soil stays moist. And I mean, you can cut them as wide as you'd like, and that's how much root depth they will have. So I had these tiny little seedlings that had like 20 centimeters or 10 or 20 centimeters worth of root growth.
Amazing.
And in tiny amounts of space. That was how I grew heaps of stock.
And the good thing with those as well is you can pot them up without actually potting them up. You just unroll the roll, add extra soil on top, and then re-roll it up.
And I did that with my status and then just planted them straight out from that.
It's such a clever idea. Someone on Instagram started it. So if you search seed snail on Instagram,
I watched a few YouTube videos on it before starting. And like one of the tips was not to use any paper products because the roots will grow into the paper and then there's root disturbance. So that's why, although, don't like using plastic, but if you can reuse something you already
have. Like Hessian would be similar.
Yes. Or even like because we have horses, like feed bags, because it's
it's woven.
Yeah, so I'm like literally that's what soil comes in. That's just like a
flat plastic,
flat smooth plastic.
Yeah,
that's what I used, and yeah, it was really great. I was really happy with them. You've reminded me of those because, of course, that was 3 months ago. I've forgotten, and I didn't have any notes about it.
They did so well.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about succession planting, and you hear people talk about succession planting a lot. For me, it's one of the most important things in my business for it to be profitable, especially on a small scale. There's no way I could make this business successful if I didn't succession plant. How do you go about succession planting? What sort of things do you succession plant, and like how often?
Oh, look, I'm not great at it. It's definitely one of those things I'm working on. Cosmos and zinnias would be the main things, and I would max do 2 a year. This year I'm probably going to have 3 or 4, which is more just like as space becomes available. Sunflowers I've always done successions of, and kind of differently. Some years I've done like a certain amount really regularly. Some years I've just done one massive succession, then when it finishes, turn it over, do another massive succession. And then last year I had some dahlias, which were kind of an accidental succession because they were tubers that got left in the ground and they were shaded through a lot of summer, and then they popped up kind of in like February, maybe January or February. That. And then they just flowered so much later than my other dahlias. Like they were still maybe the week before Mother's Day, I think they finally finished, but they were so good. So I am going to try that again.
They were so much healthier.
Yes. Yeah. Because they weren't tired from the season. They were fresh. So yeah, that was kind of a bit of a surprise. But I do feel like succession planting is exhausting.
It is.
It's a lot. It's a lot to keep track of. And it's,
and it's hard. Like, I'm not very rigid. I will move things from week to week. But, like, for example, 3 weeks ago, I was meant to sow the zinnias that I sowed last weekend.
Yeah.
And I moved it to the following week, and then something happened that week, and then I had to move it to the next week. And then it was 3 weeks later that I actually got them in, which it will be fine, but I will have them later than I intended. So you've got to be flexible with yourself so you don't burn out and so you don't hate succession planting. I succession plant most things, actually. I don't grow that many things, but like corn cockle, I succession plant. Pansies. I don't succession plant sweet peas, but I start an early and a late variety so that they're like flowering in a succession. I think that's the only spring things that, and phlox. I succession plant phlox,
okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
Because the plants fizzle out quickish.
Yeah.
So
And forget-me-nots, you do?
yeah, I
Succession
do actually.
forget-me-nots.
And here where we are, they forget-me-nots will bloom in autumn as well. So I sow
Yeah.
them in late spring, summer,
Yeah.
and they'll bloom in autumn. And then the same things as Katie said, cosmos and
Yeah.
zinnias.
Do you have any other tricks to stretch your season? Anything saying that you get forget-me-nots in autumn? Anything else to get flowers early or late in the season? I'll just answer my own question while Sarah pauses for a moment to think. I've mentioned this before, but yeah, I'm planting snaps and stock in summer to get autumn and winter flowers, and poppies, kale to kind of extend. And I watched a YouTube clip by Bear Flower Farm in the US, and she did a whole lot of she trialed a whole lot of plants to get flowers in autumn. And then reviewed them. They came out just this week. I think there was stock ranunculus, bells of Ireland, snaps, and dodiscus.
Ranunculus?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so yeah, that's worth a watch. I had bells of Ireland accidentally all through winter last year.
Yeah.
And so it's not in my plan, but we'll see.
It should be.
It should
be. It really should be. The florists
should.
love it. And it's a good bulky one that really fills out a bunch.
Yeah, sorry. Do you have any? Oh, I thought of one for you, your hedgehog sage.
Yeah, which I actually don't think I'm going to grow it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's flowers late autumn and through winter and early spring. So for me, I'm not selling during that time other than early spring. And I've got so many other early spring things. As much as I love it, it's just it's perfect for you. I think you should grow it. I'll dig the plants up for you. Yeah.
I'll surrogate it for you.
Yes. Thank you.
What about when crops fail? What's your response? Do you start them again?
It depends.
Yeah.
If it's cool flowers, there's so much flexibility because
true.
Things are just kind of on hold over winter. So you've got such a long window. It's almost like a fridge.
Because we don't get hard frosts.
Oh, true.
If we're in places where we get...
Sorry, if you're in a cool area, this is not relevant for you.
But for most of Australia...
I was meant to start my third succession of phlox in May and didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't start it in June either, but I started it in July and they germinated even with like little frosts here and there and did fine. So we've got a lot of flexibility here and we've got even a lot of flexibility in summer. Like if things fail, I do just restart.
I've had a few failures recently that are like things that are quite sad. Like one is my campanula where I have an issue with my irrigation and I've lost so much.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like just like not even letting myself think about it. But I've planted dahlias there, which is what was the plan. And they were going to be late dahlias, but instead they're in.
They're early dahlias.
So I'm just looking at it as like I have to just move on.
Yeah.
And not let myself dwell on the
I do that too.
failures.
If I don't restart something. I recently missed sowing something and it's just too late now. I can't remember what it is. But the reason I can't remember what it is because I've blocked it out.
Yes.
I can't think about it because it upsets me. And it's fine. We've got other stuff.
Yeah.
And something else can go in that bed.
I've also, things that I'm really missing right now Nigella, Amy and Larkspur are things that I just cut my losses with. They got flooded. And they just have been...
Yeah, you always have those things.
Yeah, and like I'm really missing them. They would be flowering for me now. I have some larkspur, but they're basically like single stems. They're not branching plants at all.
We had issues. We both had issues with our larkspur this year.
Yeah, I now have a note that I need to coal stratify my seeds earlier.
Yeah.
I think that was what my issue was. I just left it too late.
Mm-hmm. Crop planning is really just about having a framework, but also staying flexible, which is why Google Calendar is so helpful to just drag and drop things.
Yeah, totally. Start simple, keep records, better than me, and it gets easier each year. That's definitely true. Like, I feel like get a little bit better each year, and yeah, it all just comes together.
For sure. Next week, we are speaking with some florists, some local florists. It's such a heartwarming episode. We talked to Jess and Kate from The Little Garden, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a bit of a mammoth to edit because we had a very long chat. A podcast with 4 people is definitely an undertaking. So hopefully we get it edited in time for you. But yeah, let us know as far as crop planning goes. We'll do a post on Instagram with our maps and a few different things that we talked about in this episode. But I'd love to know how you map things and keep track of things. If you keep track of things like that, do you use spreadsheets? Do you have a physical map?
And I also want to know your gap fillers, your late spring gap fillers. Send them my way. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening so our episodes dropped into your feed, and follow us on Instagram where we share even more blooms behind the scenes. And if you're really lucky, we might even show you the weediest corners of our farms.